The presidency reacts to statement by Benue State Governor Samuel Otom over his statement on grazing routes. And the governor of Zamfara State has called for state of emergency on security in the northern region of the country. Hello everyone and welcome to Politics Today live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimbaloye in Lagos. Security seems to be grabbing the headlines and dominated it, and so we're going to be breaking down some of these issues for you tonight, so stay with me everyone. Let's begin by telling you that the Nigeria's main opposition party, the People's Democratic Party PDP, is asking the National Assembly to cut its recess, resume plenary and summon President Buhari to explain the country's deteriorating security situation. The National Publicity Secretary of the PDP, Mr. Kola Ologbodiyan, made a call at a news conference in Abuja where he condemned the recent attack at the National Defense Academy in Kaduna State, as well as the killings in Jos Plateau State.
Attacks on security formations have never been this serious in the history of our country, particularly the most recent that we just mentioned, the attack on the NDA. And as we can see, painfully, even governors are losing faith in the nation, like what happened in Plateau State, where governors were sending logistics to Plateau to ferry their citizens back to their respective states. The situation appears to have practically overwhelmed Mr. President. So we hereby, as a party, call on the National Assembly to cut short their recess. They should return to plenary and apply their drastic legislative instruments by summoning President Muhammadu Buhari to the National Assembly in an open session to come and tell Nigerians why our nation has bled this much and how the security apparatus of our country has totally collapsed in the hands of President Muhammadu Buhari and the All Progressives Congress. We call on the Nigerian Governors Forum and all stakeholders across the country to wake up and take a stand to rescue our country.
Kola Ologbodiyan, the National Publicity Secretary of the PDP. There are more stories too we're following for you, but we've captured them for you on our political roundup.
The usual weekly Federal Executive Council meeting did not hold today, and nothing concrete was said as reasons for that. But the President, Muhammadu Buhari, has been receiving guests at the presidential villa in Abuja. The governors of Gombe and Imo states called at his office, as well as the Chief of Defense Staff. After the meeting, Governor of Imo State, Hope Uzodinma, reacted to the recent IPOB sit-at-home order, maintaining that the secessionist group has no influence on indigents of the state.
Some aggrieved people have resorted to self-help. All this illegality upon illegality is still illegality.
A day after the Plateau State Governor, Samuel Along, met with President Buhari at the presidential villa, the government has reimposed a 24-hour curfew on Jos North local government area. This follows the reactions over the attack of Yewa Zangam village, where over 30 people were killed by gunmen. In reimposing the curfew, the governor, Samuel Along, explained that it takes effect from 4 p.m. today until further notice. The decision became necessary following rising tension and threats to lives within the local government and the need to forestall further breakdown of law and order. The Group Managing Director of the National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, Mr. Mele Kyari, is justifying the federal government's equity share in Dangote Refinery. He says the decision to take equity in Dangote Refinery was well thought out, and the country now has a venture which will ensure the production of up to 50 million litres of petrol in the country. Mr. Kyari spoke on this and more after he appeared before the House of Representatives Committee on Finance.
No country will allow to to exist without having a seat on the board of a company like this.
As tension continues to engulf the political space in Cross River State in anticipation of the 2023 general elections, the People's Democratic Party has promised to reclaim the state for the benefit of the people and tackle insecurity issues. Speaking in Etung local government area during a mega rally staged by members of the party, the former Commissioner for Information, Comrade Asil Kang, assures members of the party that Cross River State PDP will continue to wax strong for the benefits of its members.
We will remain committed to our people and to ensure that, God willing, 2023, PDP will reclaim government house come 2023 in Calabar.
Alasaliuva, the Zamfara State Governor, Mr. Bello Matawale, has called for a state of emergency in the northern part of the country over the security challenges in the region. He's making this call today at a meeting with the Assistant Inspector General of Police in charge of Zone 10, Ali Janga, at the Government House in Gusau, the state capital. The governor was seriously concerned about a series of attacks in many states in the region, believes a declaration of state of emergency will address the problem of insecurity in the north. Meanwhile, the presidency has been responding to the statements made by Governor Samuel Otom of Benue State on the issues of grazing routes and ranching, and the directives of President Buhari to the Committee on the Grazing Routes. The presidency, in a statement today, says, quote, specifically, Otom stirs up hatred by targeting one single ethnic group in Nigeria using language reminiscent of the Rwandan genocide, end of quote. The presidency believes the governor's statement is ethnic in tone and could divide the nation. That's the point where we begin the conversation tonight, everyone. And we get the presidency to speak more on this matter and the issues raised by Governor Samuel Otom. I'm being joined by the president's media assistant, Mr. Garba Shehu, who joins us from Paris in France. Thank you so much, Mr. Shehu, for your time tonight on the program. It does look like the president is not happy with what Governor Otom said. What exactly is the mind of the president on some of the statements made by Mr. Otom?
Thank you for giving us this opportunity and to say that the president has shown extraordinary patience, stomaching a lot of the garbage that Governor Otom has been pouring upon him. I am not sure in the history of this country there had been any president would have taken all of the insults that Governor Otom has been heaping on this president. And on the president's directive, we have ignored him. Most of the time, we have said nothing. But it is also said that lies told many times, over and over again, they can assume the coloration of the truth, can be mistaken for the truth. And it is at this point that we decided to say, look, let us set the record straight. President Buhari does not kill people. He is not a cultist. Governor Otom should stop spreading fears about a president who is humane, who is fair, who is just. And all of the falsehood he spreads perhaps speak to his own character rather than that of the president.
What exactly, if you can tell us, are those things that the president is not happy with? In some of the conversations that Governor Otom was engaged with, I remember vividly he was talking about grazing routes, ranching, the agreement at the National Economic Council meeting, and what the governor's positions are on the grazing routes. But what in specific is the president not happy about? Can you tell us?
Well, let me say that so many things are in what you have just said now. The issues of grazing reserves or ranching. are matters that are being competently handled by the National Economic Council, chaired by the Vice President. They have a plan for all of these things. And the plan, on that plan, there is a buy-in by about 24, 25 states. Now, what remains is for action to follow. And the action has begun to take place in a number of states. I think about 10 states so far in the country have set up secretariat for those schemes. What the president did lately is nothing that should have warranted these insults, because he just set up a committee under the chief of staff and technical people to audit grazing land. There are reports as submitted by the Ministry of Agriculture indicating that these reserves are in as many as 24 states. Is that true? Can you audit, verify? If they come to your state and they find that these facts are not, is the government not auditing Niger Delta Development Commission now? And the fact that you are auditing, does that presuppose that people are already guilty, or that they have no explanation for what has happened? They should allow the committee to report. And at the point to which action is being taken, if you see government going in a direction that you don't want, you can complain. When you ask a question about the kind of things that he says, on your own TV network, Channels Television, you had Orton lining up people behind him, asking President Buhari, come and kill us. Buhari, come, kill us. Now, is that the way to treat a president of this country? Because the president does not speak, because he is a decent gentleman who does not order executions, as we have had in the history of this country. So please, I think that people, the Benue people are largely peaceful, they are law-abiding, and they love their neighbors. This wedge driving by Governor Otto between Benue and their neighbors has got to stop. In any case, if he doesn't, this is a democratic system of government. What we're saying is that less than 2 years from now, they have an opportunity to put in a governor who will reconstruct and restore their relationships with everyone, including the Fulani, for whom he has so much hatred, and he's driving towards Rwanda if care is not taken.
Governor also mentioned a few things, part of which he made allusion to Katsina State being given some funds to drive the ranching agenda. Is that true? Can you confirm that to us?
Yes, Katsina has been given money, but Katsina is not the only one that has been given. So far, about 24 billion naira has been issued to about 4 states for ranching and associated activities. Yobe has been given, Ebonyi has been given, FCT has been given, and a number of states, more than 10 states, are now being processed for these payments. So we have had all this nonsense being said, including by lawyers who ordinarily should be respected, accusing the president of this thing or that. The president cannot be nepotistic. He cannot descend so low as to do what others before him have done. He is a fair and just leader, and the fact that Katsina got money, in fact, 1 or 2 of these states got their own before Katsina, but it's because they didn't go to town with it. That is why people are calling out president, and the governor of Benue is saying all this trash against him. So it's a process, and the state governments are lining up, and if you are ready, you meet up with the given criteria, you get funded. The president's wish is that this open grazing should end. Nobody wants it. Yes.
Will the presidency or the federal government, that is, be giving the same 6 billion to every state of the federation?
I believe that there is no basis upon which any state will be denied so long as they have the states. But of course, you know, states such as Benue have proclaimed openly that they have no land for ranching. Or where it is available, it is not open. By the way, their laws are written as such that nobody can access it if you don't belong to a given ethnic group that is preferred by the administration in the state. So all of these things matter. People have to be fair to everyone. If you want justice for yourself, do justice to other people as well.
Let me allow you to also clarify or speak to what some of the things Governor Orton mentioned. And it has to do with the issue of the Land Use Act, which allows the governors of each of the states to take charge of the land under their territory, in their states. And according to him, he said at the meeting where they sat with the vice president chairing the meeting, that the governors agreed that ranching should be the way to go, but with this idea of grazing routes, it's totally against what the governors agreed upon. And so it does look like, from what he said, that the presidency is going against the wishes of the 36 state governors.
Well, there are matters of technical detail which I may not have. But ranching, by the wish of everyone, is the goal of the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari. But you are not going to get there in 24 hours. You have to plan for it, because all of the things that are required, water, the greens, and even the land have to be provided. And again, I hope you get us clear. At no point is President Buhari telling anybody that he is in charge of land under the constitution, not to the states. No, federal government wants to work with the states. And some of these states, like Katsina, we just mentioned, Katsina, if you like to know, is already recovering some of these grazing routes from people who have encroached. And they are doing it following their own laws. Now, you are saying that there shouldn't be routes. Are you applying? Is anyone implying that you cannot move animals from one point of the country to the other, even for market or medical other purposes, veterinary and so on, that you cannot move them from point A to point B? And if you need to do that, they have to move away from the farm so that they don't eat up, their crops, and then violence ensues. These are matters anyway. The governors, with good heart, with good intention, they should be able to sit down around the table with the federal government and agree on what to do. Ranching is the way to go, and is the modern system. Nobody is tied to the past. The thing is that you cannot jump from one to the other without making the necessary preparation for what is to come.
So, if you say ranching is the way to go, is the modern approach in animal husbandry, but when the president talks about resuscitating or trying to bring alive the grazing routes, does that not come against in conflict with the concept of ranching, which it looks like it's a popular idea accepted by many?
Well, I don't know how they will achieve that, but if when you need a cow to celebrate Christmas or Salah, depending on which one you do, and this cow happens to be in Niger State, and you are in Lagos, is the assumption that you will carry this cow on your head? If you like, you cannot, you as a Nigerian, move this cow, walk it to Lagos, if that is your wish. I'm saying I don't fully understand where people are going. if the idea is to resuscitate grazing,
walking their cattle across the country.
There are states that are willing and ready to have those back. In any case, they have some of them have said they have already relaunched it. Borno State, for instance, Nasarawa, a number of them, Adamawa. So states have choices to make of what they want. We have to modernize this system, and it will require a process to do this. How do we get there? I think this is where the disagreement is. But for states like Benue, who say they don't even have an inch of space for some of these things, do they have anything to offer to the new system that they're saying they have signed on to?
But how would you interpret, Mr. Shehu, how would you interpret when the state says we cannot or we will not embrace this idea of grazing routes? What we want is ranching because of the history of the killings and the clashes that we've seen between farming communities and these herders. And perhaps the stories of the foreign herders who mask, who are in disguise, coming as herders, but with AK-47 and some other sophisticated weapons. And so the governors in the southern region of the country came to say there will be a ban on open grazing, and they will not allow the transportation on foot of cattle from northern region to the southern region of the country. Will the federal government, or is the federal government opposed to the position of the southern governors?
The Minister of Agriculture probably will be in the best position to give you this answer. But if you are to allow me to make my own assumptions, states are entitled to make their own laws, as many have done. Do the laws make sense? Do they abide by Constitution of the Federal Republic? Do they respect rights of all citizens? Do they respect our treaties and obligations assigned under ECOWAS? All of these things are important. And again, there is a problem with some of the assumptions that you yourself have presented. Some of these generalizations that people make, that the killings and the rape and all of these things are on account of Fulani herders. It is unfair and unjust. I'm not saying I'm here to defend it. There are Fulani criminals. There are Fulani criminals. Let me repeat, there are Fulani extremists and criminals, as there are Hausa, Yoruba, and Igbo bandits and criminals. And in any case, a state like Benue, which has been so outspoken on this matter, they have the law against treason. And my assumption is that arising from all of that, all of the Fulani herders have been expelled. Now, so now what is happening to the cultists who are sometimes politically motivated, cultists who are ethnically motivated, who go on killing sprees between one community and another? So who drives those ones out of the town? So all of these things there are problems of law and order, of criminality all across the country. But for anyone to now say this is accounted for by one ethnic group of the country is absolutely wrong and is unfair. And this is where we are headed in places where this anti-Fulani agenda is being driven to the point where if care is not taken, they would begin to lynch, they would begin to stone you for just being Fulani, whether you have wronged anyone or you have not. And a government has a responsibility to give protection to every citizen in their life and property.
How does the president, being a Fulani man himself, approach this very touchy and very sensitive matter? it does need to be approached very carefully. But give us an idea of how he's approaching it, such that for those who are accusing him or making allegations, because he's a Fulani man, and some of the events of the past, can you give us an idea of how he's approaching this such that it doesn't escalate into a bigger tension?
Well, he wants the country's law to be obeyed and the constitution that we have in place. And there are people who make assumptions that the day President Buhari stops being president, he exits that office. All this campaign against the Fulani will disappear because much of it is politically driven. Or some of the states that are hardest hit are probably selected and targeted in order to cause maximum political embarrassment. And it gives, if you allow me just a second, it gives me an opportunity to respond to my younger brother Kola on the earlier parts of the program. I think that the PDP people are shameless people. They ought to show remorse and regrets for the lack of preparedness of the Nigeria police and the military to confront ongoing security challenges in the country. They had given President Muhammad a rotten police and a rotten army with nothing, air force that could not fly, police that don't even have tear gas. So what are you talking about? President Buhari is trying to rebuild what he destroyed over 16 years of his rule. And then you have the mouth to come and talk and say that the president, whether he should resign or they should convene emergency parliament because he has failed. You failed the nation. And you take responsibility. That's why your party has gone into voluntary liquidation. Because it can no longer be sustained on the basis of falsehood.
Because we are in a democracy, Mr. Shehu, the voices of the majority carries the day. That is the rule in a democracy. When President Buhari has an idea on an agenda on a particular policy, but it's been met with resistance from perhaps governors and perhaps a larger population of other people within the sector where this policy is supposed to operate. Will President Buhari still continue in such an idea? And I give an example. On these grazing routes and this idea of open grazing or grazing idea, and people are hacking it down, they said they do not want it. Will President Buhari still go ahead in pursuing that agenda?
Sheung, as we speak at this time, all that the president asked a committee to do is to audit the grazing reserves, audit them. What would he with the report? Why don't you give him a chance? Allow the report to come in. If he says, okay, the police or army go and take back land, the states can now begin to scream against that policy. And what you say against the majority, that if the president would act, the president cannot act against the majority. Rather, he will act against a vocal minority which is used to privileges that are no longer sustained by a democratic, accountable system of government that he runs in the country. We have a parliament in the country, and the president is never in disagreement with the majority decision of the Nigerian parliament. Go and check their decisions.
We'll take a break, but there are a few questions I'd like you to answer to Mr. Shehu, especially in the thinking and what is running on the mind of your principal, the president, on the state of security in the country. The governor of Zamfara State is saying that there should be a declaration of state of emergency in the northern region of the country. Plus what we saw, the dastardly act by some element who attacked the National Defense Academy in Kaduna State. We'll take a break, and when we come back, our closing moments with Mr. Garba Shehu, and also when we come back, Brigadier General Sani Usman, a former director of Army Public Relations, joins us, and he will be telling us the way out all of these quagmire in our security architecture in Nigeria. We are seeking solution. We'll find out more from the retired military officer after now. Join us again. Many thanks everyone for joining us tonight on the program. Let's continue with our conversation and perhaps our closing moments with the President's Special Assistant on Media and Publicity, Mr. Garba Shehu, who is in Paris, France, talking to us tonight. Let me first and foremost get your view on what Mr. Matawale, the governor of Zamfara State, said today. Is calling for a declaration of state of emergency in the northern region of the country. Will the president, this is not the first time we are hearing it, will the president be interested in towing that path? Because if the governor of the northern region is saying that that is the right thing to do, what is the thinking of the president in that respect?
Well, the president has an attorney general, and I'm sure the attorney general will give him his own view on the matter. What I know is that it takes more than the president alone to declare an emergency in any state. He would require the parliament to endorse and the courts to say it is right. As the records stand, as we know them, I'm aware that emergency declared under the PDP administration in Plateau and I think Osun State, Ekiti State, had both been declared as unlawful under the Constitution by the Supreme Court of Nigeria. So I think that if he wants emergency, and he's a member of our party, which we're very proud of, I think he can sit down with our Attorney General and the President and specifically define the kind of emergency that he envisages that will not go against the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Well, is there an option or an idea that Nigerians need to know? Considering what happened yesterday, the attack on the NDA in Kaduna State. Kaduna State has at least 4 to 5, if I'm not losing count, of major military formations. That perhaps is a formidable military center in the country, and the kind of attack that we saw entering into the residential area of the NDA, attacking, killing people, kidnapping people in that region. It's in that vicinity. How does this come to the presidency? It's shocking to the bones.
Yeah, I mean, the president has denounced it. He's not happy about it. It is now left for the military authorities to thoroughly investigate this and bring out what happened. But so many scenarios are being painted, though. Could this be truly a criminal attempt to violate the sanctity of that military institution? Was this an opportunistic crime? Is this political? Did somebody want to embarrass the government by doing this? Because we are coming from major successes. Look at how Boko Haram is unraveling in the northeast, the surrender and all of the victories that are being recorded, and even in the northwest, these bandits are being taken out in large numbers. And it's a matter of time before sanity. So in a climate, political climate in which people seek to make political capital out of these unfortunate incidents, you don't rule in anything, you don't rule out anything. We hope investigations will fully reveal what happened and why it happened. As it is, we condole the families and the military over these losses. They ought not have happened. It is sad and unfortunate.
On a final note, Mr. Shehu, I know you dismissed what the PDP said earlier, that when they were in government, you inherited a bad policing system from them. But the question they will probably be asking you right now, wherever they may be sitting, is they are not in government. You are the one in government for 6 years. And they were asked that their members should come back and summon the president for what they say that the security situation is now totally out of the control of the present government. How would you tell Nigerians, or what would you tell Nigerians tonight watching you, Mr. Shehu, to give them that confidence that the government of the day still has total control of the security situation in Nigeria?
Well, people should just survey what is happening in the sub-Saharan Africa, in the Sahel region. I tell you, there is a particular country under the ongoing circumstances, nearly 2/3 of which are now under the control of bandits and these killers. We don't have any of our territory under them. Every government, including this one, will be tested. Americans were tested by 9/11, and that is, you don't throw your hands in the air and say, we have it is totally a total failure of the government. This government is doing exceedingly well. There is still more work to do because this is not a finished job. We have to rebuild the military, restructure them, rebuild the police, and make it functional and all of that. So huge monies are being appropriated, nearly $2 billion recently for the procurement of weapons. In the coming week, the president is going to inaugurate the fighter aircraft most suitable for the kind of attacks on bandits and kidnappers. So we're getting somewhere. We are not near this under the PDP. And had they been challenged as we are being challenged now, this country would not have been where it is today.
Madam Garba Shehu, Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, thank you so much for your time tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you for giving us the opportunity.
Thank you. Let's speak to an expert in an area of security. Now, the government of Plateau State reimposed a 24-hour curfew on Jos North local government area. This follows the reactions over the attack of Yalwa Zagam village, where over 30 people were killed by gunmen. In reimposing the curfew, the governor, Simon Lalong, explained that it takes effect from 4 p.m. today until further notice. And elsewhere, following the attack on the Nigeria Defense Academy, President Buhari has vowed that the military will press on to end criminality. Let's talk more on these and the way forward. Plus, Zamfara State Governor Bello Matawalle, who has called for a state of emergency in the northern part of the country over the security challenges in the region. I'm being joined from our Abuja studio by the former Director of Army Public Relations, Brigadier General Sani Usman. It's a pleasure having you join us tonight. It's good to hear from you, but, you know, these sad stories of people being killed, it doesn't gladden the heart at all. It makes one feel very weak. But give us a sense of what you make of the situation. First and foremost, when the governor of the northern region said, for example, that there's a need to declare a state of emergency in the north, not only in one state, talking about the 19th state of the northern region of the country. Is that the way to go?
Well, good evening, and thank you so much for having me on your program. To start with, what happened at the Nigerian Defense Academy is quite regrettable and unfortunate and inexcusable. And when things happen, they do happen. I think what is the most important thing is what is being done to address the issue. Now, coming back to that call for state of emergency in the northern part of the country, we are all living witness to what happened to the previous state of emergencies that were declared and the impact they had on the security system or architecture. I really don't want to join issues, but I think people should stop giving excuses or abdicating their responsibilities, because some of the security challenges have roots to some of the socio-economic issues we have in this country. If you look at it, since 1999, to what extent have we really sincerely committed to a better security in this country. And by security does not mean just necessarily the physical security. How much do we invest in the security architecture? How much do we invest in food security, and so on and so forth? Take, for instance, the local government system is no longer working. And we know that bulk of these problems emanated from the issue of good or bad governance in this country. To what extent have we improved this so that we can have a stopgap, with the local government system? All of the local governments have been emasculated by the state governments. So let's look at it holistically. That is one. Secondly, I'm not an expert in terms of, the Constitution of Nigeria, but I think there are ways that you can, address some of these issues through constructive engagements. But we have had instances where we have this knee-jerk approach to security problems and fire brigade approach, and it should not. Over time, we have, time-tested conflict resolutions mechanism, and we should have been more proactive. Take, for instance, the issue of community policing that was launched 14 or 15 years ago is no longer functioning. What happened to our mobile policemen? Now, I make reference to some of the constitutional provisions, like the police council, in which each of the state governors is also a member. How many times have it met in this country? So these are the issues that we need to address, and those are the kind of things that will give us, respite to some of these security challenges that we're having. Because yes, there is no excuse for criminality, but there are inherent problems within the Nigerian polity that need to be addressed, not this knee-jerk approach. And if you are talking about state of emergency, I know it's just like declaration of war, that a lot of things will just have to give way. You confiscate things, and you have to do without certain things. And to what extent will this solve the problem? I think we need to have constructive engagement, dealing with the stakeholders. What I mean by stakeholders, the whole gamut of the stratification of the Nigerian society. To what extent have we bring people on board? Not that you sit down and pass directives. No. Any government policy, any government program should be people-centric. But there are some of them that are antagonistic. And that is why people have this sense of disenchantment, and they take up, they take law into their hands. Although they are criminals that you cannot have any excuses, because I, for one, I cannot imagine, kidnapping is a way of, showing your anger about the state of things, or raping women or killing people. No, there are better ways of, resolving issues. And to what extent have we been engaging this segment of the Nigerian society? If you look at bulk of the people committing all these crimes, they are between the ages of 18, maybe maximum 35, at worst 40. To what extent have we been engaging our youth? What are the opportunities given to them? And to what extent have we given people greater sense of belonging in this country? These are the issues. And it is not just that when things happen, you just, slap the military or the police over, coercive agents. No. The issue of banditry, the issue of terrorism and insurgency, to a large extent, that's kinetic aspect of it is just a meager percent. There is a larger percentage that is supposed to be done, and of course the people that are statutorily responsible for doing that, they know they should be up to their duties and responsibilities. I can rest assure you, bulk of these problems will be over.
When you say those who have the responsibility, who are these people? Are you referring to the political leadership or what?
Well, I talked about statutorily responsible. So if you understand those who are statutorily responsible, you know the people I'm talking about. There are people that are responsible for doing things that they have not done. There are certain people that are supposed to be doing things, but they are not doing it in the right way it should be done. And what happened? This is what is happening in the society. Take, for instance, I just made mention that local government system is not working. Who is responsible for the working of the local government? I know over time, There are, bulk of, constituents of the Federation rely on the monthly allocation from the Federation account. And every local government is being catered for. But to what extent has that money gone to the particular local government?
So let me quickly take you up on some of these issues. So if we get you right, declaring the state of emergency in the northern region of the country is a no-go area. It will not work from your professional point of view. That is a summary of what you've told us, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there is a better way to go about it, constructive engagement.
Give us an idea of this attack on the NDA. The audacity, that is it for me, that scares me. What lesson can we take away from that? For those attackers, for them to go into that vicinity, as a professional, what do you think was running through their minds? Is it that they saw a porous security situation in the NDA? Or what could have been going wrong? Or what could have gone wrong? Is it a matter of intelligence failure? Or what exactly is the matter? Give us into that, on that.
At the beginning, I made mention of the fact that what happened was quite regrettable and unfortunate and inexcusable too. However, it is also a turning point, pointing to the security challenges we are experiencing in this country. I don't want to, jeopardize the inquiry that is going on, but I can rest assure you, people will be surprised at the end of the day, the circumstances that brought about what happened at the Nigerian Defense Academy. But the good thing is that I think the authorities are now more committed, more resolute, because they have been taking proactive measures and focus on the fact those that have been, the officer that is abducted is rescued safe and hell and hearty. Beyond that, there are measures being taken and lessons have been learned. I can rest assured you such things will not be allowed to happen. And I think, again, I understand the concerns of Nigerians, given the sacredness of the citadel of military training institutions such as the Nigerian Defense Academy Kaduna being breached by suspected, unidentified gunmen, so to speak, or unidentified persons, so to speak. So let's give the Commission of Inquiry or Board of Inquiry time, let them do their work. Whoever that has any information should please help so that they can be able to gather the information, needed information to enable them to enhance the security of that area. That being said, but there is need for more synergy, not just necessarily among the security agencies, but the component of the Nigerian society. And if you look at the Nigerian Defense Academy, its position and relationship with the other components of Nigerian society, you will understand what I mean. Therefore, I think this has called for a renewed effort. Thankfully, I think the government has said that they will give all the necessary support. And I know that the military leadership were in the Nigerian Defense Academy and gave all the support that is needed, strategic directions, and I believe they are following it to the letter. I don't want to preempt it, but I can rest assured you, within the next few days or hours, definitely you will see the results of these things. But it has called for, a kind of wake-up call that nobody is immune to the menace of these criminals within the society. The earlier we put all our hands together to fight it, the better. Because a crime that is committed in Kaduna State has corresponding effect in Ebonyi State. So the earlier we collectively as Nigerians fight this criminality, the better for us. And there are so many ways to do it. I have made reference to the fact that there are some components of the Nigerian society that are neglected, and that to a large extent has not helped our information sharing and intelligence gathering. Then, of course, I talked about the issue of good governance. Now, bulk of this, how many in the first place are the bandits? But their relying point is the, the power of informants, and of course the fact that over time people have more or less kind of lost trust and confidence in the security agencies and the government, so they are inadvertently funding the criminals through payment of ransoms and what have you. People would have had the option of not paying. If they know, definitely the government will be up and doing, will support them. Or the security agencies, they are doing the best they could. But the government need to do more in terms of equipping, in terms of the human resource holding, and in terms of carrying Nigerians along when it comes to security issues. To what extent have we educated our people? To what extent people have this sense of belonging in the society? These are the important key things that we need to put in place, and we can be able to mitigate the security challenges. But I can rest assured you, this is a turning point. Things will not be the same, and I can also rest assured whoever has hand in that, definitely the security agencies will find him or her out, and they will face the full wrath of the law. And I want to assure Nigerians too, having talked with the various, the hierarchy of the Nigerian security and the military, they are given assurance that people should not despair. People should, be more understanding. It has happened. It's regrettable. There is no excuse for it. But I can rest assure you, they will not allow this kind of breaches to occur. Not just to NDA, but other places. And it's a wake-up call for all the components of the Nigerian society, particularly those statutorily responsible for the welfare and security of Nigerians, to be up and doing, to see to what extent they can re-strategize and support the security agencies, carry the people along, give them more sense of belonging, address the youth restiveness, so that we can have semblance of peace in this country.
Quickly, before we close the program, there has been reference to the fact that the government said they've arrested some of these Boko Haram elements, and that some of the sponsors are being known. The government has said they will list out the names of the terror funders, those who are funding terror in the country, and invariably perhaps there are information on those who are instigating this terror and violence in the country. That on one hand. The governor of Kaduna State mentioned recently that anyone in the forest should not be there. Anyone in the forest is a criminal, and that they should bomb the forest as a way of clearing out the elements that are perpetrating this evil. If you can quickly link that also to the repentant Boko Haram members who have come, over 1,000 or so of them, should we be happy? And I'm asking you to give some kind of solution, maybe in 60 seconds before we close the program. Those who are skeptical about the repentant Boko Haram members, but the government says don't be, because we need to win this war. What are your views quickly on that?
Unfortunately, when you are talking, I lost part of what you were saying. However, with the last part that you're saying, the issue of repentant Boko Haram, I think there is a communication gap, somewhere. Otherwise, it is not the way that is being bandied around. The issue of the surrendering of the Boko Haram, it is not something that is just happening overnight. It's a product of maybe some years' effort. The psychological operations embarked by the military, dropping flyers, reaching out, trying as much as possible to tell them that, look, there is life, beyond this insurgency that you are doing. And of course, the media and some of the NGOs did not even help matters at the onset, because they have painted a terrible picture of the Nigerian security forces, that those that were coerced into Boko Haram insurgency or terrorism were afraid to, leave and come. But now there is a semblance of hope. And now we cannot continue to have these killings and wanton destructions. Some of them that were coerced into it, they have decided to throw in the gauntlet and come out. And of course, it is as a result of some of the effort. And by the way, any Boko Haram that is arrested, he or she goes through the Joint Intelligence Committee, in which they categorize them into 3 categories. The first categories are those people that are not found culpable. Even when I was in the army, some of them were handed over to the communities. They have been integrated into society. I could remember way back either 2016 or 2017, when I was Director of Army Public Relations, we had similar ceremony in Memalari Cantonment. They were integrated. There are those again that have some semblance of responsibility that were taken to Operation Safe Corridor. But those, the category 3 that are really top Boko Haram functionaries, are taken to Kainji, and they are being, tried in accordance with the laws of the land. So people should understand that. But we cannot continue to have that. There are some of them that have been coerced, but we should come out with a modality so that these guys could be, de-radicalized, then integrated into the society.
General,
but we need to, have the buy-in of the people too.
Brigadier General Sani Usman, former Director of Army Public Relations, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure getting to gain from your knowledge and your wealth of experience. Thank you indeed for your time tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me on your program.
Well, and that's our show for today, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm Sean Kimbale. Bye for now.